Hi guys, welcome to Robin Hood Diaries. God, I'm a bit time crunched tonight, but it doesn't matter because you're the most important thing to me. And this story can't be rushed, so I should be jumbly, but this story I'm not going to be, even if I miss my deadline, which is upcoming. I have to make a call and all that kind of stuff, so it doesn't matter. As promoted, this is a story. I previewed it as did Sean have an affair in the 90s in London, I believe, or in Europe. So I'm going to tell you that story. It's if I get emotional at the end of the story, I just, not that that would trigger anybody, but I just want to kind of give you a heads up that sometimes I spontaneously get emotional on certain things. So this is my story. On the trips that Michael and I told you over the past couple of days in our sort of global tour shows, in one of those many pit stops and country changes and everything, Michael missed a flight, which was supposed to end up in Greece, in Athens. So his delay, having to get another flight, very expensive, going to Europe, of course, we were to meet in London. No, I'm sorry. He was very much delayed because of missing this flight. So our time meeting was supposed to be, I believe, in London, where I ended up on this sort of wild pit stop. But his flight that he was able to get as a replacement went straight to Amsterdam via Frankfurt, or maybe directly to Amsterdam. Long flight from God knows where to God knows where. So that threw our whole schedule off. The time that we were supposed to have a long layover in London, Heathrow, just outside, so it was not like I was right there next to the airport. I had to do it through Victoria Station and then go back to the airport and so forth. So that left me with an 8 to 9 hour, I believe at least, layover in London, while Mike was struggling to get his way to Athens, skipping where I was altogether, where we were supposed to have our long layover. He ends up getting into Athens early. The schedule goes nuts, but I'll get to that. So I'm left with an 8-hour layover, and I'm not going to do it at Heathrow Airport. So I train into London. It's not all that far. I was looking at an 8 to 9 hour layover. I did not know that there was an imminent something that could have prevented me from getting back to the airport. I wasn't aware of that, but it didn't. So I was stuck now, and I took a train into Victoria Station. And I had to have all my carry-on stuff, and praying that, of course, my luggage made it. Well, I was kind of on the normal route, so didn't worry too much about that. He was on this weird diversion on another airline going here and there, leaving me again with these 8 hours, 9 hours in London now, because I trained in, as I said, to Victoria Station with my whatever I was with, your jacket and your carry-on and your whatever, camera, whatever. So I'm in Victoria Station. And of course, places like stations and airports have places where you can, put your belongings in a cubby and get a thing so that you don't have to carry your stuff around all the time. We all know those things if we've traveled. Or even not, they have them, I don't know, they have those kind of things all over where you can keep your belongings safe, put your whatever in, however much it is, scan it, I don't know, and then you get your little key or whatever, and then you go back later and get it. So I have to do that with my stuff because I have stuff. And so I'm at the row in Victoria Station now, where I have come with all my stuff to put things away. So I'm putting my stuff away in the holding thingy, and I don't know if it was in the station It could have been located outside the station. I'm trying to picture exactly where, but it doesn't matter. So I'm at the cubicle thingy and I'm putting my stuff in. And there is a man, a young gentleman, about my age, doing the same thing, a couple, like two or three cubicle thingies down. And so as we're doing this, we're looking at each other, and we're not talking to each other. And we're smiling, and then it turns into sort of a little conversation, but very nothing kind of thing. Like, you might as well have been saying oops or or hi or oh, excuse me, whatever type of thing. And we had a lot of stuff to put in. So all the while we're doing this, we're looking at each other. Now, it's those weird looks sometimes that you have in life where there's that something else going on behind here and behind there, between the two. And we just kept gazing and finishing up putting our stuff away, taking our time so that we could gaze more, I guess. And he broke the ice as soon as it was obvious that, how much shuffling into a cubicle thingy can we do? So the broken ice turned into a casual conversation, very sort of on the go kind of conversation that you would have with a stranger waiting in line, for example. But there was always that thing. There was that thing in the eyes between us, like smiling eyes that weren't necessarily smiley, but they were smiling and sparkling. And mine were too, I would imagine, from the way I was feeling. So he asked, since we both knew we had long layovers, he asked if we might go to a pub. And so what am I, there was this very strange energy between us. I had 8, 9 hours ahead of me, and saying no and going and sitting at Starbucks or whatever didn't seem appropriate or even very polite. So yes, and I certainly wasn't going kicking and screaming. So there was this pub. It was quite close to Victoria Station. It was out, if anyone knows, it was out, I don't know what end. And then there was a little kind of road street that's kind of very bricky. It looks particularly older. And in one of those doorways was like this place, which was an intimate pub. If it's still there, I don't know. This was 1998 or whatever. So we go and we sit down, and it's quiet. It's not busy. And we get juice, I think, with juice or tea or something like that. And all the while, this thing is happening behind our eyes with each other. I wasn't falling in love. He wasn't, I hope, falling in love. But there was this supernatural kind of connection that was going on. And we were both aware of it. It was kind of like you both are aware of kind of the same joke that like was said earlier in the day, and so you have this kind of acknowledgement of how funny that was. Well, it was kind of that, like some kind of strange acknowledgement of the connection that was growing. And in the pub, it was set up where there are, of course, seats and usually small tables, and then booths along the edge. So we sat next to each other, as one might sit across from one another. We sat together next to each other in this pub. And we talked for hours and hours and hours and hours about everything I can think of. Funny stuff, not so funny stuff. He was from the country side, compared to where I was from, big city. And he knew I was, almost full Irish, at least 50% full. He was from the UK, and We both knew each other's background. He certainly knew mine. I mentioned nothing about ET. I don't usually ever do that, ever, because there's never any reason really to say, oh, by the way, I was in ET. Why would I do that? Maybe at a restaurant. I don't know. I would never do that. If someone asks, there's been times where people, I know that they recognize my face, kinda, and they get really like kind of annoyed that they can't think of where they know me from. I get that a lot over the years. I know you look familiar. Well, I know that most of the time it's from ET because the ratio of people that haven't seen ET is marginal. So I'm used to that. So I get enough of it. I don't need it. I don't tout it. I have no reason to announce it. So that never came up. And that really is neither here nor there, but no, it wasn't any part of it. And we were in that same location probably longer than they really wanted us there. And we were in, well, no, that was, well, okay, I'll go what happened after that. So it was a very, 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 very long time in that pub. And we were sitting very close. And his hand touched my leg, and my hand touched his hand. And they remained there for a while. His hand on my leg and my hand on his hand. And there was no fondling, there was nothing sexual about it, really. There was definitely a lot of heat there, not literally, but it was electric. And we sat like that, with that going on for quite some time while we were talking. But then the conversation took on a different kind of vibe. It didn't get any more personal necessarily, but there was a lovey familiarity kind of now, like fast friends all of a sudden discover they're so, I don't know, alike, or they grew up a block away from each other, I don't know. So then it's palpable that there's something going on between us. And he knows I'm married, and he was not with someone. And we decided that we needed to go to lunch, to a full lunch. So we left the pub, and then knowing that this time frame that both of us had, because now we were somewhat hours into this, and it had morphed into this oddity. So we go to have lunch. It's an outdoor cafe. We both had salads, I remember. So we're outside of a pub. We're first in a train, Victoria Station, then we're in this kind of dumpy little pub, and now we're having lunch nearby Victoria Station in a cafe. And then it just becomes it becomes livelier. And there's smiles and eye contact that is unorthodox, I guess, between two strangers, especially in not a heterosexual manner, but it's not like we came out to each other. It wasn't ever like, I'm gay, you're gay, let's be gay, or whatever. It was just a knowledge of the attraction, and it kind of transcended gender. He could have been a woman, he could have been, I don't know, a waitress. I don't know. And it built, and it built, and it built, and it built. And by the end of it, we couldn't finish our food, and we were just basically gazing at each other. We were talking, but it was sort of this quiet enthrallment with one another. Lots of pregnant pauses and lots of conversation, and then more pregnant pauses. So bringing us forward, now it's closer to time to leave. Now, what I didn't end up knowing, as an aside, is that there was a railroad strike, literally imminent, like within minutes, hours of the strike time. As of this time, you are on strike with unions. And so I didn't know that it was a thing. So we'll get to that. So we know we have our time pressed issue. It is getting further along. I know when I have to leave to get to my airport to continue this trip all the way to Athens. If had there been anything gone wrong, this trip just would have crumbled in different parts of the globe, and it would have been beyond a nightmare. So we're hours into this now. We know it's drawing to a close. I didn't know that there was a railroad strike 2 minutes away, that had it happened, I would not have been able to get back to Heathrow. So there would be no airport to get to. There would be no flight to make. There would be no transition out of London. So I didn't know this, but we had our times. He had a time that he had to go to get back to some rural area, and I had a time to get back to Heathrow, to get on a plane to go to Athens. So we finish lunch and we walk. We're not hand in hand, obviously. This is 98 in London, but we may as well have been. And we get closer to Victoria Station, and we are in front of a theater. Nobody around. It could have been a shut down theater for all I know, but I know it was a theater. It was like a movie theater, or I think a movie theater, almost like it had been shut down. Quiet, kind of, not fancy. So it's raining, it's drizzling. So we step out from that into the shade covering of the theater, where the stairs would end up to the theater. And we're just stuck kind of there until the rain is enough for me to get across to Victoria Station and him to get across to that part of it. So then the rain subsides, and we're already time pressed, fully time pressed at that point. And we know that it's both time. And he looks at me for some time, and I look at him for some time. And simultaneously, we embrace and kiss as if our lives depended on it. It will only lasted about 30 seconds. It was not making out, obviously. That kind of would have been gross, considering the level of strange intimacy that we had reached by then. It would have been totally kind of antithetical to the vibe, I guess. And yes, we embraced and we kissed for about 30 seconds. Okay, there you go. My husband knows. We're not like that. We're not weird like that. Not that that's, of course, feel possessive if you want to, or threatened or insecure, but we were really never like those kind of people. If anything, he would want to know, well, la la la, da-di-da, blah, blah, blah. It was the furthest thing from my mind at that time, and we finished our embrace, and we finished our kiss, and we looked into each other's eyes, and we stared, and I said, "Have a great life." And that was it. He went over there. I went over there. And I hope he had a great life. And I hope you're watching this, Charlie, because it's the only way we were ever going to see each other again, even though we're not seeing each other. And maybe you're not with us anymore. Maybe there's lots of maybes. I don't know, and it doesn't really matter anyway, does it? But if you are somewhere in the world and you are falling across this channel, and then you fall across this video, hi. That's all, just hi. So I got back to the train, and literally, I'm not kidding you, you guys, I got the last train out of Victoria Station before the rail strike hit. The conductor actually told me, "You are on the last train. We are on strike. So get aboard because this is the last train out of London until the strike is over." And it would have been the only way that I could have gotten to Heathrow and out of the UK. So I got on that train, last train out of town, ironically. Why that's ironic, I don't even know. And I made it to Heathrow. And I got on my plane and I got to Athens, and my husband had been waiting there with no food, no money. He had come way, way earlier than I had, significant number of hours before I had arrived with all this crisscross, and then his went fast, direct. Mine had pit stops, so there was this delay. And I arrive, and he's been like, hanging out with the army guys outside the airport, and there was like some kind of Ibiza, foam party going on the beach. But he had no money, so he survived on Coca-Cola. One of the army guys got him a couple Cokes. And I arrived in Athens, and we found each other in the airport, and we hustled into Athens proper, where we were staying in our hotel prior to taking our tour of all of Greece. And we got back to the hotel and we effed like bunnies. Haha. So, in the shower. Okay. Body. I don't know whether to say I hope you enjoyed this, or I don't know. I guess I hope you enjoyed this or found it entertaining or touching or interesting or anything. So anyway, I'm gonna let you go. I don't even know if I'm late, early. Does it matter? No. But I love you, and I adore you guys for putting up with me and watching me. And it makes my day, my month, my week, my year. So I will see you tomorrow with yet another show. Who knows, I might go global or I might go personal. But those are usually intertwined, aren't they? Okay, take care. Do everything I wouldn't do. Bye.